Hey everybody, welcome to another All Things AI Agents community meeting. Do we have a few new faces today who would like to introduce themselves quickly? I think I might see a couple of new faces.
All right, so maybe me as a volunteer. I'm
Yes,
Sebastian.
please.
So nice to meet you all. I'm Sebastian Bacala, and you probably know me from previous contributions. And finally, I found some time to join the meeting in time. So nice to meet you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Nice meeting you. Anybody else wants to do a quick intro? All right. You can still introduce yourself next time when you feel comfortable. I'm not going to push anybody this time, because we have a lot of things we want to discuss today. Let's see. The first topic we have on the agenda is Dimitro. I think you are here. So I would love to pass the mic to you to talk about how you started getting with K-Agent and your most recent contribution, integrate K-Agent with GitHub Codespace, which I think is going to help everybody a lot. So if you're up to, feel free to take the screen sharing. I'll stop.
Yeah, hi everyone. And let me do a screen sharing. Hopefully it will work. All right. Can you see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so actually one of the difficulties for contributors when you start with a new project is some kind of a setup of your development environment or dev tools, some dependencies. Also, some people may not want to install everything at once until they just want to get familiar with the project. They want to get a taste of it without bringing any new things. So, you know that quite a popular solution for that is to use dev containers. It's a thing which exists in VS Code for some time and supported with also other IDEs like IntelliJ, I think Z as well. And basically the idea is that you develop everything in the container. You have just a Docker file and some definition which gives you the all the required tools and things. And how it works, if you start from any repository on the GitHub, you can just click on the code and you have ability to spin up code spaces. And I started already one, so I just go and open it because I just don't want to waste your time on waiting all this build and initial load. So, and when when I started this, you can see it's a familiar IDE. It has like VS Code, which because I already used it, it has my settings and everything. And oh, it's a bit. Maybe I was too fast. Actually, in reality, you will see here just a starting point, and you will be able to start working with environment right away. Okay, so as you can see, there are some tools pre-installed. I will just close the tab and we'll start it like I'll pretend it's a completely new environment for me. So I can just start K9S to see the what's going on my local kind cluster. And let's say here you can see the project structure, everything which you're familiar with. And typically my workflow is I just run the CLI with OpenAI provider, and there is a additional environment variable. If you set it, it's called Cage and Helm repo. And this will actually tell to the CLI to install everything from your local. So it will not download the version which is release version, it will be your dev version. And actually, this was one of my first contributions to make it kind of work in this scenario. So when you run it, it basically running the make with the kagent CLI install. It will rebuild all the images. It will load them into the kind, and at the end, it will start the kagent. And then the final thing we need to do, we need to run install, which will do the Helm installation. And you can see also here, it's telling you that it's running it from local. Okay, you can see the kagent is starting. Okay. Just sometimes it depends on the configuration of your VM. I started like the minimum machine right now, and because it may take a bit of time if you run it first time, maybe, but okay. Usually it's okay. And then you see whenever you start some port or something, the code spaces, these dev containers, they automatically trying to open the browser and suggesting you to open the browser. But we would need another one. We would need to run their port. So just let me run install again to make sure the port is forwarded. Sometimes not. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's my fault. I'm not reading. So actually this time, because I am in the remote environment, it will tell that it cannot do this for me. It cannot just open the things. Need to check why, but doesn't matter. Okay, demo time, and then let me do it a bit differently. I have another way to do it. I have a make kagent port forward. Let me do this way. When I run it from local dev container, I think this just works fine. But if I run make port forward, it will work. And you see it's opening a secure link, which is pointing to the environment, and it's opening the kagent here. Okay, so just to summarize, I run everything from the code spaces. I was able to build the kagent, deploy it locally, and we're using the dev version of the charts, and everything you modify and change will be actually deployed here with this small local environment, and you can work with kagent as normally. Okay, you don't need to have any special local setup and so on. One thing about the keys and environment variables, code spaces support a secure way to configure things like OpenAI key. You need to do it in your account settings. So then you just need to configure this OpenAI API key so you don't paste it or do something unsecure. Okay, so this is first part. Another part, since code spaces is, I think there is some free tier, but it's, at the end, it's something which runs on the GitHub infrastructure. You might be interested just to use things locally, right? So we can move to the terminal, and on the kagent project, you can use the same thing. You can use CLI called dev container, and dev container is actually the same.
I think you're not sharing the terminal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And let me switch to that one. It's another one. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, I think it's sharing just currently a tool instead of window, but anyway. Okay, so I'm just saying that if you run it on your local, and you see there is this .dev container JSON and Docker file. If you run a command like dev container open, it will open the VS Code with the local dev container. It can also open it whenever you first time opening the project. I think VS Code with that plugin will ask you, do you want to reopen it in the container? And this is something that you can use. So basically, if I click here, I can also do some other things like with the dev container rebuild it or disconnect, but essentially you're running in the safe environment, which is running on your Docker. Here in this case it's locally, and all the tooling, all the stuff is still available. Any questions so far or comments? I think that's
so which one do you recommend? By the way, thanks so much for showing us this. This is so helpful. Which one would you recommend? The dev container on local or the code space in the GitHub cloud?
I think it depends on the on your personal view. I mean, and you can just use normal things with directly, but for those who want just to start and try things out, maybe you need to test some specific branch, or depending on your connectivity, you maybe like on the slow internet or something, you can just connect in the browser and work with the project normally. I think it's I use it also a few times when I need it.
Nice. This is pretty nice. I didn't think it's that nice. I knew it would set up everything, but as we were going through the demo, the first question that popped into my mind is like, but how do I get to the UI? And then you showed it. So it does all the tunneling for you, and you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, actually, there are also use cases and questions which we may cover some other day, because, for instance, if you want to access your like Olama instance or something, if you want to have something like this, and there is an easy way to do it using the tailscale. Just for the scope of today's demo, I don't want to overload it with things, but if you just go to the tailscale and you install tailscale client, you can easily connect to your private hosted Olama and use it from anywhere. So
that's pretty nice. Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the tailscale. That's actually one of the questions I had. Why do you need one? So it's to connect to the Olama, maybe running on a different machine.
Yeah.
Awesome. I saw a couple of new faces popping. If you haven't introduced yourself, feel free to introduce yourself now. Chris, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Chris. I've been playing and pulling about with it, the K-Agent tool recently, and I like it. It's awesome. It's really cool. I think it's exciting where it's going to go. And yeah, I've been working like in the Google Cloud Kubernetes space for like the last 5 years or so.
Awesome. We've already seen some of the contribution you had, like you built a K-Agent with the new Argo CD MCP server. So that was super cool. I was actually going to try your steps because I thought it was really interesting. So thank you for that contribution.
No, of course.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to introduce yourself? Rosa, I think you just joined. Welcome. If you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, team. Good evening from India. My name is Roshan, and I'm working as an incident manager for a startup-based company, ClearEye.ai. And I'm currently building an minimal viable product, which will help in consultation with the doctors online. So I'm in like a learning phase. So I hope I will be learning and I will be implementing that in my project. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. It's so excited to have you here. Thanks. All right, let's move on to what else agenda we have. So let me start sharing the screen. The second topic I had, unfortunately, Christian Posta couldn't join, but I'm going to do a call out to his demo here. If you're interested, I actually just watched it myself this morning, and I saw a couple of you already thumbs up. So it's a really cool demo where he introduced the arrow and he used K-Agent to troubleshooting the issue, and its K-Agent submitted a pull request for him to review the change, and he approved the change and it fixed up the environment. So I thought it was a very cool demo. I was going to ask him a couple of questions when he joins, but I'll catch up with him offline for that. The third
I think
topic,
the main question is from our side: is it something that will be added to the project or not?
oh yeah, that actually I have a similar question on that. I will pass that to Christian because I was curious if he had to build any of the tools, or was he using some of the existing MCP server from GitHub to do that? So yeah.
I think he was definitely using like an existing MCP for GitHub, I think.
Are you trying to share your screen, Lynn? It looks like you're just sharing a thing that says you're sharing.
Yeah, I just saw that. Sorry, I was trying to share my screen, which is only the meeting minutes, but let me try that again.
But yeah, I think so. I actually haven't watched the demo, but I'm planning on adding. Well, we're planning on adding like a demo GitHub agent, and I've had a lot of luck with the official GitHub MCP server.
Yeah.
So
Same.
yeah.
Yeah, so my limited understanding of the demo, I think he used the new Argo CD MCP server and the GitHub server, and maybe some of the existing tools we have. So it's actually really cool that the way he did the demo to automatically create the PR and the human involved to approve it, and then use Argo CD to sync the latest change to his environment to fix the error situation. So definitely I recommend you to check up. And as an action item, I'm going to follow up with Christian to see if this will be contributed to the project.
Well, oh, you mean the agent itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Either the agent itself or maybe some write-up on how somebody else could build such an agent, right? I think that's what what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I think
that makes sense.
Eitan, I think the two of us chatted about like whether it would make sense to actually include some of the MCP servers, right?
Yeah.
When you install K-Agent, right?
Yeah, I guess that's
them for you, right?
That's a good question. I mean, so we, right now, for example, we include a set of default agents which aren't necessarily meant for, like they can do a certain amount, but they're not necessarily meant, at least not yet, to be sort of like official, productized or like blessed agents. They're more just like getting started, a place to get started. Now, actually, we have a team internally that is starting to work on benchmarks for those agents. So I think there's definitely a world where that's the usefulness of them becomes, of our base agents actually starts to become more than just examples. But anyway, that being said, we were wondering if there's also some tool servers that would be useful to ship with, for example, GitHub or Argo or whatever it is, right? Exactly, like things that would be generally useful. Because right now, we have certain built-in tools like Helm and Kubernetes, but I think in the future, part of us wants also to move away from built-in tools in favor of just MCP. But I don't know. Basically, just opening this conversation up to other people, see how others feel about that.
I wonder if it would be useful to have like some sort of proposal mechanism, like we have like a community way of proposing agents or something, right? That way we could just say, like really quickly which ones we feel are useful or are useful to the community or not, and then those are the ones that we would kind of spend time developing, and maybe that's what we decide kind of through a proposal process or something.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I think for the local kind installation, we can also enhance it with a capability to deploy those containers as a MCP deployments. We need to see how exactly to do it the best way.
Sorry, to the
Tool servers, MCP servers.
In the local dev kind setup, if you just create your kind deployment, for example, we may just add Argo and Argo application template, which will spin up the MCPs. I think that will be pretty common, and then we can connect the example Argo agent which we have to that Argo installation. Plus, you can make it like optional or feature flags and things like that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like an easy way to just spin up. Like right now, we have an observability agent, but we don't really have a good way. Like we don't have an included way, a batteries included way to spin up Prometheus and Grafana.
Yeah.
So it would probably help if.
Yeah,
if
I think
that.
with Argo we can achieve some kind of a bundling with all the required things really working.
Yeah, and if we do that, I think, and we talked about that as well, having all these agents be either like individual Helm charts or have a way for people to not install all of them or just pick and choose what they want to install, right? Because installing everything might not be for everyone, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah. And well, so you can already do that today, where you can disable certain agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a conditional agent for resource agent, but we don't have any mechanism to spin up deployments, right? For the remote, let's say MCP. And even those like GitHub and Argo, they usually say, okay, you need to have prerequisites like Docker or something else, like, to set it. So
yeah, if it's like UVX or if it's MPX, then it's easy, right? Because we can spit it up in, like, we can create a tool server, right? And it's going to be like, it's going to spin up in the app container, right? But there are some MCP servers that are only using Docker, right?
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be doing Docker inside Kubernetes that runs inside a Docker.
No. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, it should be like.
What I think, it should be like a proper deployment, right, or something. I think that wouldn't be like a bad long-term thing to actually, whenever you install an MCP server, you would get a deployment with that MCP server in your cluster if you want it, instead of running everything in our container.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes a lot of sense, especially if one day I want to run it distributed and I want to put like the new MCP, agent gateway in between my agent and also my MCP server.
Yeah,
actually,
I think,
Peter, I would like to add there is a super gateway. I don't know if you're aware about this project. This is the wrapper about the SSC and NPX, so you can use any of MCP, interface, and it's actually can transfer between the interfaces. Yeah, and by the way, SSE, we're expecting to be switching to the streaming protocol soon, so maybe this good idea to have to keep it in, to take it in account, that maybe some kind of integration expected in the nearest future to switch from the SSE, maybe, or implement streaming support interface.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned this because our agent gateway can also do this. In fact, when I demoed this at the conference I was just at, I used our gateway to do exactly this, where you just run. You put a little config here. But yeah, I can get the config, but basically it's a similar thing where you put the STDIO server or whatever it is, and our gateway will run it for you and transfer it into the wire protocol. So not to
You mean K gateway or
no
or
agent gateway.
gateway?
So
Right?
Agent gateway. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, as far as like which one, I don't know. Obviously I'm biased, but I definitely see, like at the end of the day, yeah, that's it. I would just,
Yeah,
ours is,
I think from
do we have
ecosystem
already-
point of view, it makes sense to use agent gateway because it's part of kind of the same ecosystem for the future, perhaps. Or
yeah. No, it is. And for example, you're gonna be able to control agent gateway with K gateway. So if you want like a Kubernetes native control plane, right, running this super gateway in Kubernetes, like I can't imagine is a wonderful experience. Not that this thing isn't great, but it's not Kubernetes native, right? So you will be able to manage all of this in a Kubernetes native way. So
yeah, one of the aspects which is important for me when we will spin up those random MCPs, people will start to play and will start to run anything, it's
Yep.
how to enable something like service mesh on top of it and restrict all the extra traffic. For example, even playing with our current builds and optimizing Docker containers, I try to run it with the isolated like air gap environment, and I discovered that certain things were still going online, or fetching some resources and stuff like that, So I think in general, going to the direction where we can start the MCP servers and isolate them and only open a specific access to outside, that would be a good direction.
Actually, I have
yeah,
a
that makes
question
total
for
sense.
Lynn. Yeah. Do we have already some kind of demo or integration with the Solo AI gateway, Kagent, and agent gateway? Do we have this integration already?
That's a good question. Yes. So where's Nina? Is she still in here? She's
I think she dropped off.
she's actually she's adding it right now. The answer is that honestly we need a better, like, I think Christian might have done something. I know he did it with the agent gateway. Let me find it. But we absolutely need sort of a full picture demo here, like you're saying.
I think
we've
at the
been-
last community meeting, they presented things, but it was still a little bit like manual process of defining the config files. The JSON files and everything has to be done manually. I mean, if we are going to add it as an optional add-on to the key gateway and make this additional security isolation, probably we could try, but we would need to automate the templating.
Yeah. So I guess how would you, what would be, from your perspective, right? What would be the most helpful? Like, would you want, what aspects of each thing would you want? And so it's like in your mind, would you want to deploy them separately, right? Would you want the agent gateway to come sort of bundled with K-agent, or like how would you want
Separately.
those different separately?
Separately,
Okay.
because, for example, sharing access keys between different MCPs, even if you have like all of them good and one of them is bad, and if they're together, and it will have access to the same environment variables, it will be not optimal.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
But
So
the thing is about, sorry, Lynn, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Why I'm asking about the AI gateway, actually, because we have a full stack, the guardrails, all kind of tokens, metrics, and security features on top of the key agent. Because of to realize all these features is key in key agent is the overwhelming, because we already have AI gateway. So for the marketing perspective, from the technical perspective, for the maintaining perspective, so we need a really clean understanding of the stack. So on the edge we have AI gateway, some kind of car agent as a car gateway as a, I don't know, router or whatever, and instances of the car agent. So to understand the stack of the, let's say, solar ecosystem.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I think, the AI gateway, for example, it should work today if you put a different URL into the OpenAI config, which I've tried because I was working with a local OpenAI server using a project called Llama Edge. So that works. You can change out the URL. So that should absolutely work today. As far as the like a whole picture, I agree with you. And I think actually I know that I was just talking to ED, our CEO, yesterday, and I know they're basically revamping our docs to be more in this exact direction. But yeah, that makes sense. I think that's good feedback. We'll
Do you see any
definitely
objections
incorporate
if
that.
we will add it as a dependency on the current Helm charts or other things, like how it will look like? Because for production, yes, I agree, we need all three components, complex installation. But for the current dev environment and testing,
It's a little bit too much overhead.
it's
Yeah,
a
I think
dependency
it's
which is like, we don't have neither of these products is kind of matured, right? It's still in development. And if you are introducing this dependency, you would need to have at least one of them on kind of version 1.0, then you can take it as a dependency, right? If all of them are on dev, it's hard.
Yeah, so our AI gateway is mature, but I mean, I wouldn't prefer personally to bring it in as a full dependency. No.
It would be an
I think
option for people to deploy it with it, right, in production.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. In the installation, I don't see us having the agent gateway as the default for K agent. However, we could open up an install option where you turn that option knob on. You could also get agent gateway deployed as well.
Yeah.
So one action item, just to recap, sounds like there's a big interest with agent gateway, how it can potentially be integrated with K agent. So when we have a demo about agent gateway for A2A and MCP user cases, we could circle back and present to the community. How does that sound? And then maybe we can get more feedback on that too.
Make sure the demo kind of includes like what happens at the AI gateway layer versus what happens at the agent gateway layer versus what happens at. I get a little mixed up on what it happens where, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And also, I would be really interested to see the audit logs from all the custom MCPs. This is like we currently operating on unsecure environments. People spinning up those NPX and other things randomly. I mean, it's until something some security issue will start to appear. So for me, prioritizing isolation and audit. So basically 100% traceability of all the LLM calls, that would be like another requirement for me.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking of a diagram in my head, right? What Jason said then. In my mind, it looks like a K gateway with AI capabilities at the edge, right? And then behind that, you would have an agent gateway that would handle the MCP stuff. right? And still, any MCP calls going out would still go through the K gateway anyway, right? So K gateway would be like an egress as well in a way, and then K agent underneath, right? And K agent will call to the agent gateway to get all the MCP stuff. And if it's going to call out to a model, let's say, it will go through the AI gateway anyway, right? So all like a lot of traceability and like observability we can already get on the K agent level. Like we have a way to get the logs and everything. We just decide not to show them because there's a lot of them. We can enable that. We can take that as a feature and just enable it, right? But then also at the K gateway level, you can get all the tracing and auditing and logging and all that, right?
Yeah, so I think the observability at the gateway level might be more interesting because that way you not only see the interaction between K agent to the large language model, you can also potentially see any other agents or any invocation for large language model. So you could see a lot more things too. So Peter, if I heard you correctly, we might already have this in our agent gateway, the observability for LM calls. Is that?
Yeah. In
It's
agent, no, we have it in our AI gateway.
It's in there's something in K agent that we just
Yes.
need to enable it, but K gateway does have it, right? Like,
Yeah. I
get
think
a
that,
login
but
and
I think that
chase
Dimitri was saying this, right? Like you sort of want to separate the two concerns of the management, right? Because you want to make sure that and I think this is also where something like Istio like having a service mesh becomes important because you want to block, right? Like let's say
Exactly,
you basically at some point want to block all traffic that goes directly to OpenAI, right? Because you want to make sure,
Yeah.
or you want to redirect it into your proxy because you want to make sure that there's absolutely zero traffic reaching these LLMs without you knowing about it, right? So
Right.
I think, and this it's a multi-pronged approach, right? Where you have your framework, right? And potentially you have multiple frameworks, right? Or multiple apps which are calling LLMs, right? You can't rely on the single piece of code to monitor that or output those metrics. So that's why you have something like something like Istio to make sure that all of the traffic is going through your proxy, and then your proxy is recording all of that information and potentially blocking people who aren't allowed, or recording the metrics traces or whatever it may be. So.
Right, and I think in general we're building the system which is pluggable. So for example, you start without service mesh, then on top of it you have, if you want, layer of service mesh. On top of it you have extensions on the gateways which are doing the guardrails and all kind of stuff which coming from vendors, from cloud providers and things like that.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. A question, do you know this project Open Telemetry, which is kind of like traceability for like Open Telemetry compatible extension for all the Python and stuff like that? Anyone
I think
seen
I've
this
heard
one?
of it.
I've heard of it, but I haven't.
New to me.
Maybe I did look at it at some point, but.
And do you see any benefit if we will look into potentially integrate it into this Open Telemetry kind of export for the existing agent or not? Doesn't make sense, or it already has some different implementation?
So Autogen has like an Open Telemetry implementation, and there's a lot of events.
Well,
and
metrics
and traces that are being like emitted there, right, Eitan?
Yeah, but those are slightly different. So I think, so you can filter those and send them through here. But no, I do think that it would definitely be useful across the separate, I think that it'd be, especially as these standards pick up, right, as they garner more support. It seems like Open Telemetry, like it says that Open Telemetry has picked it up, right? So I think that it's good that we integrate with these standards across our stack, because then the more that we integrate with them, the more that the more tools that are available to use to monitor the traffic, right? That's why things like OpenTelemetry are so important. That's why things like the Gateway API are so important, right? Because it gives people choices as to the tools that they use, and it, then you can create more integrations, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah, I tend to agree too. Hey, Denise, you also sent a couple of links. I just want to make sure, give you a few minutes to mention those quickly, because I think they are interesting.
Just quickly, because of the area reliability engineering is my point of interest. That's I'm maybe working on it, so maybe 2 years old, and any new ideas as a Kagent, K-agents, K-gateway, and whatever. My point to align it to the general schema that, for example, the Gateway API inference extension, it's define the layers, from the basement with the models, next routing, next all kind of optimization like a LoRa and whatever, AI gateway, Kubernetes gateway. So we need to find the right place where we can align the K-agent, My point, once again, that not over having the single product to have everything inside because of its heavy to development and whatever. Just to align, just to have ability to integrate with the other. I mean, some kind of CRD, well explain it, integration with any service mesh, any, I don't know, for example, this open inference. So this is the protocol actually used in the Gateway API and other products, especially for the agents to expose the metrics, all the things. So align to the ecosystem, have the clear interfaces, clean configuration, and well maintenance ability. So this is the thing. So, and in this schema, same we are already discussed that some telemetry from the bottom, next the Kubernetes as a main, I don't know, framework to run something. There is a gateways, any gateways, and AI gateway as a let's say application gateway for the AI on top of them. So this is the ecosystem real and it's live. So, and K-agent something in the center of this, with the clear interfaces to integrate it. Yeah. Because for the enterprise point of view, when you starting think or talk about the K-agent or some kind of solutions, you immediately have the couple of questions about the integration, security, all this stuff. What kind of protocols, what kind of ports on firewalls, what the frameworks, and close it on open source and whatever. So it's a good idea to move forward is to be compliant with all this, let's say challenges for to integrate it in a real infrastructure. Because for my experience now, we have a huge and a really complex infrastructure, and just to align the new product is a real point of pain, the real challenge. That's why I want to be actually clear understanding that I can explain security team, for example, our AI team, our SRE team, how you can launch, how you can maintain, how you can secure, and what it costs, and how it's monitoring and tracing, So this is the...
I think it's a good idea, and one maybe extra thing, if we currently have a very simple way to deploy things. We have one Helm chart, you do Helm install, and you got like K-agent up and running, right? And it's a perfect, it's a easy to use and so on. The similar thing I've seen with MCP SDK demos, right? Usually, if you go to the Go MCP SDK, it has a very simple example of the simplest agent, right? And then they have what they call a complex or full demo or full installation, right? Which covers more in detail topics like, okay, you have multiple interactions, delay, server notification for the long-running task, and so on, that you cover something which is more advanced, right? So having a samples folder under KAgent or as a separate project like KAgent samples, where we can actually contribute those complex deployment examples, which are relatively complex. For example, you can take a stack of Argo and then, deploy all the MCP servers as Argo deployments, and then, put KAgent in the center, put gateway, and so on and so on. Someone will bring a Flux, right? I know that, Dennis, you are using Flux and so on. Someone will have a demo with a Flux MCP, Flux CD, and not Argo, right? So it will be another one. So we cannot maintain this as a default deployment in the Helm and so on. It will overload it, but we can definitely maintain a kind of like a contrib, samples or something, and also if we include it in the CI/CD perspective and so on, we would need to run like more extended test maybe with seeing that it's compatible, that we're not breaking anything, so we can say, okay, this is the minimum we are supporting. But it's actually not a one solution, not a one diagram. From CNCF landscape, you will see that it's a multiple variations, right? And depending on your demo mode or production mode, you will have many extra add-ons. It's like RAG, a simple example. If you do RAG, you can have just SQLite RAG with a simple endpoint and it will work. But the actual picture for production RAG, it's a huge, it has pipelines, it has stages, it has like all of the extra components. And for simplicity, we usually present it as a one interface and one block, right, for the development. But so I would like to see maybe this kind of samples, deployments, contributions, where we can play with it, and eventually we will find maybe the best way to run it all together.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I took some notes on that for us to think a little bit further on this. I think I'm thinking about the project I work on. Istio, we also have a demo profile. We also have like production ready profile. We also have extended telemetry, Grafana, Kayali, and all that adds on, we call it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I think we are a little bit out of the time. I really appreciate all the discussion. Peter, I haven't called you to showcase your new Slack integration. That was super cool. So maybe you could show us next time. I'm going to try that as well. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before we closing the meeting? All right, thank you everyone so much for joining, and hope to see you next week. If you have interesting topic, do let us know. We would love to have you speak about your scenario, give us a cool demo, and I appreciate all the feedback. Thanks everybody. See you next time. Thank you.
Hi.
Bye.
Bye-bye.